All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. It is race number 2 here at the Dark Horse Area 51 Indy Series, and we are at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 125 laps is our scheduled distance tonight. Drivers putting down their qualifying laps as we speak. However, say obviously not much info to provide here. We'll say obviously the similar stuff. The one fast repair for all drivers should they need it. Let's say obviously ideally able to have incident-free race, get those bonus points as well. And then of course no green white checkers over here, so 125 will be the finish of the race here. But we also got to pull up last week's results as well. Scott Rankin getting the big win. So it promotes him to a 9-point lead. Oh no, 19-point lead. Math is hard. Over Jeff Heisong, Anders Arhus, Eric Peterson, Craig Forsyth are top 10. And so you can see on the bottom there, just below, you can see some of those points, those bonus points we talked about. So again, 0 incident points, 5 bonus points. So if you can try to keep that car clean to the end, that will be a huge points builder for these guys here tonight. But yeah, so say pleased to have back up in the booth with me here, Steve Gotzschalk. So Steve, always a pleasure to have you in the booth with me. And yes, I know you got to have some laps behind the wheel here. What are you looking for? What have you learned over the course of this the practice session?
Well, it's going to be wild. The draft is definitely key to hanging on to your position. There's a little bit of aero push when you're in a bigger pack of cars. And I found that I was having to play with the throttle to not push into the wall coming off the turns, especially off of turn 2. So you'll see guys, they'll probably have to make adjustments to their chassis during the race to try and counteract that. Also, I discovered that it's almost impossible to pass for the lead on the outside. Had a bunch of nice laps going there with Scott Rankin and Thomas McMurray, and I was trying everything to try and get by Scott. He was protecting the bottom line all the way around, and I just couldn't figure out how to do it. I couldn't get a good enough run to get alongside him on the outside. So it's going to be tough to pass for the lead. Passing for spots behind the lead won't be quite as difficult. But I don't know. It was fun. Definitely a lot of fun, especially in a big pack.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think it's going to be very racy tonight. But like I said, I think it's going to be a tough one to pass for the lead. I think it's going to take a lot of pressuring from those drivers a little further in the field, maybe trying to kind of squeeze that driver on the inside line down a little bit, just kind of put him in a tough position that maybe they don't want to be in, kind of make him try to risk the throttle, have to roll out of it a little bit, things of that nature. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see. We'll have to see what these guys have in store for us. Looks like about in the low 20s right now on the car number side of things for taking the grid here tonight. So I think it's actually probably just about the right number to put on some really good racing here tonight with that Dark Horse Area 51 Indy Series. So and so you can also see the track going to be a little warm too, Steve. Right now 76 degrees ambient, 116 track temperature. We'll see if that plays a role in the handling of these cars at all as well.
That's definitely a hot track.
But yeah, so yeah, like you said, Steve, like you said, I think the inside line is going to be tough to get around drivers here tonight. But like you said, I think that outside line, especially when you get to like row 2, row 3 like that, I think that's where the moves are going to be made, is maybe working that second or even third lines, trying to find a way to jump to the front. So we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like we got about 2 more drivers still on track, putting some lap times down there. One of those being Matt Wagner, the other being Yari Brupacher. So we'll keep an eye on what their lap times look like. As we'll say, we've got just about 30 seconds left here in qualifying. So these guys waiting till the absolute last moment to put their laps in right now. So we'll see how everything shakes out here.
One other observation I noticed when I was behind a big pack of cars, and those guys started running 3 wide. I mean, it's like being in a big pack at Talladega in the stock cars. Only everything happens faster. The cars are twitchier. You don't know exactly where to go, and it's just kind of scary.
Yeah, I think scary is a really good word for that. And say Matt Wagner cutting it close. We'll see if the lap time counts or not. And I don't know if it took his lap or not, because it's definitely not going to be the lap he was looking for. However, though, that will complete qualifying here tonight. So we'll go ahead and pull up our starting grid for tonight's event. And it is going to be the number 89 of Nick DeGroot on pole position here this evening. Craig Forsyth right behind him in second. And then in third, you've got Jari Brupaker, Anders Arhus, which we have Team Arhus in the face on YouTube chat, so always appreciate that as well. In fourth, Jim Herrick. Fifth, Charles Teed, Alec Coates, Eric Schaus, Scott Rankin, our winner last week, and Chummy Miller rounding out our top 10. And then you've got William George in 11th, Jim Brooks 12th. Continue to roll down the field here. And then you got Gary Corley, Jeff Heisong, Eric Peterson, Andrew Wood, Matt Wagner there 17th, and then you have Joseph Morales, Jack Walls, Thaddeus McMurray, and TJ Allen will be our 21 drivers taking part in tonight's event.
And I have to say that was Thaddeus McMurray I was racing with earlier. In practice, not Thomas McMurray. There is no Thomas McMurray in the field.
That's exactly what Thomas McMurray wants you to think there, Steve. But we'll see. Say probably Thaddeus' evil twin or something. We'll maybe check on that in future points of the race here. But right now, waiting for everybody to finish gridding up here. Looks like just got a couple left to go, and then we're gonna hand things over to our front row, which is gonna be Craig Forsyth and the 89 pole sitter of Nick DeGroot.
Man, this is a stacked field.
Yeah, this is a really, I was saying, I'm looking at the field here, and it looks very similar to what we've had over the last season. So I'll say it's pretty much the kind of the usual suspects, if you will, that are in the race here tonight. Like I said, there's a few new additions, I'll say, part of the TJ Chummy Esports group. One of those being, or I should say three of them. You got Chummy Miller, William George, and then TJ Allen in the 95. Those three is like, honestly, I think those are really the few that didn't maybe run the full season with us last season. So it's going to be fun to see how quick they're able to kind of get acclimated and get comfortable with these cars. Like you said, this one's going to be definitely a really, if all goes green, I should say, a very quick and eventful race here tonight.
Really curious to see. Matt Wagner missing his lap is put him behind the 8 ball, and Andrew Wood surprisingly far back in qualifying. So, the two of them are generally two of the faster guys in this league, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to work their way forward, or if they are.
Yeah, and I think that could be the tale of also some strategy over the course of tonight as well. Fuel window sounds like in the low 30s, maybe 33 or so, 34 if you're kind of in the lead, being real aggressive on fuel, kind of fuel map 1. However, hearing some numbers on the fuel saving side of things, we might even see some drivers get into the 40s on fuel numbers, just from the draft and the fuel maps they can play with. Again, these guys have, I believe, 8 fuel maps that they can run through. 1, of course, being full rich, 5 being the most lean, 6 and 7 kind of a more road course map, and then fuel 8 being a caution map, which actually found out some drivers were actually using that caution map during the race last week, trying to save fuel to get to that very end of the race. So a lot of things that are out in play that these guys can play with, of course, other than the fuel. You got the weight jackers, you got the ARBs to adjust, so we'll have to kind of see who makes the best adjustments over the course of the race. But that being said, though, pace car is turning a sharp left back onto pit road. It's going to hand it over to Nick DeGroot and Craig Forsyth. Once that green flag waves, we will be underway here, 125 laps as the green flag is down and away.
And I don't know if you talked about this last week or not, but we got a bunch of new paint schemes. And so I'm going to have to get used to who's in what car here.
Yeah, give me some learning for me as well. Say Nick DeGroot, I'm familiar with that yellow and black paint scheme, though. Say he's done plenty of winning with that motorsport.com car. I say, like I said, one of the first cars up front with that different paint scheme. Craig Forsyth now in third. Still LMC gear on the side of it, but yeah, very different looking paint scheme. So that's definitely one that we've had to get more familiar with. But yeah, like you said though, Steve, look at this pack right here as they come out of turn number 2 after that first lap already being completed. And they are just everywhere right now, just everybody trying to find a little bit of clean air to put on that front wing of these cars.
And Charles Teed so far, the first one near the front that I've seen, take it to the middle, and he's moved up a few spots.
Yeah, Charles Teed was a man on the mission last week at Auto Club on the initial start. So it should say, I believe gained 4 or 5 spots on pretty much the first lap. Was going for the lead right out of turn 4, lap 1. So wouldn't be surprised to see more of that. But man, I am nervous for this mid pack right now, where Jim Brooks, Matt Wagner, and these guys are. It is no better word to say, but it's a mess in here. Just like you said, these guys running so tightly packed up on one another. Any small mistake is going to take out numerous cars here.
go somewhere near the back of that pad and put your camera on the in car so people can see what it's like.
So we'll watch from Scott Rankin here. We'll look out the front of his number 156 machine gun, last week's winner, and yeah, I'll say let's see what's going through this 156 car here. You see Scott's kind of committed to the inside line. You see actually kind of bouncing between 5th and 6th gear there as well, Steve. 6th through the show, 5th through the turns there. So wanting to make sure he can keep the revs up just a little bit in the turns to make sure he doesn't maybe lose too much momentum. As I said, now he jumps straight to the top groove here. But the one driver that's really starting to kind of slice and dice his way towards the front, though, Matt Wagner, we talked about his qualifying, not what he was looking for. He's worked himself up into the top 10 here with 10 positions gained on the outside of Eric Schaus in that Hot Wheels car. I say now he's worked himself around that 72 car, and another one that's making some big moves right now as well as the 04 Chummy Miller. He's the first car in that outside line in that 04. Also currently 7 spots gained. So you were talking about Matt Wagner, talking about Andrew Wood, who's also up in the top 10. These guys decided they're not going to hold back and just cruise. They're going to try to find their way towards the front. And I mean, yeah, this feels like a Daytona Talladega right now with a lot of these guys running right on the edge of 3 wide.
Yeah, Daytona Talladega with cars that are very twitchy and hard to keep off each other.
Yeah, it's definitely a dangerous combination, but so far so good. Knock on wood, they've been doing a really good job. But it's exactly, you see Charles T there trying to peek under Craig Forsyth, but there's not enough room there. He moves back up in position. And that being said, though, you see now the 04, he drops up just a little bit there. As soon as that door opens, Matt Wagner is going to take that opening. And so he's going to try to get himself up into the top 5 and does. And now working the outside line outside of Charles Teed here, trying to see if he can get himself now up into the top 3 after only not even 10 laps here yet.
Yeah, it's a hell of a job getting through the field by Matt.
Yeah, so that's just, I think, just trusting yourself, trusting your competitors to be able to make some of the moves I'm sure that he's had to make. I say one of those things where had we known the aggression will be one of those races, let's just watch kind of from the start to see what he does. But yeah, he's made a great job kind of climbing up through the field. You see Andrew Wood was right scraping almost the wall there through 1 and 2 here, and right now he's right behind Jari Brupacher trying to find some clean air to put on the front wing of his machine. Right now kind of pinned behind that number 49 machine, but I say Yari's doing the same here. I think just trying to kind of use that second line to get himself some momentum here. But yeah, right now it's just a lot of kind of ebbs and flows, kind of when drivers get the push, or should I say get the pull. There's no real pushing here, but again, that big draft and gives him huge momentum through these turns. Is now he's going to look to the middle there between Jari Brupacher and I believe Chummy Miller, but opts to then roll out of it and just keep it too wide there.
One of the things I mentioned during practice that I kind of wish these cars did, unlike what the stock cars do, when you have 2 cars running in the stock cars, when they're running close together with the draft, you get both cars going faster. So if you're the second car, you can help push the first car past cars on the inside if you happen to be on the outside line. In these cars, the front car doesn't get any advantage at all. The back car will get a huge draft and a lot of momentum from the car in front of them. But as you see right now, Matt Wagner, I'm not sure who that is right behind him, but he won't be able to push Matt by. Matt's going to have to try and get some momentum on the high side on his own. And I'm going to guess it's probably not going to be possible for him to take the lead.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right there, Steve. And so I got to mention there, so I got to give a hats off to Chummy Miller. Actually caught the apron a little bit through the trial, but was able to get out of the throttle and kind of gather the car back up and get back out on track. Usually these things, you see him kind of touch the apron, and it's in pretty much an instant spin. So great hands by the 04, able to keep that car in one piece there and kind of keep back after it and try to see what he can do here. But exactly what you said, though, Steve, is exactly what's happening right now. They can get two Nick DeGroot there in the 89, but then at that point, that's all they can do. So I think right now, strategy-wise, I think right now Craig Forsyth is the one that's kind of going for the strategy game here. He's just going to kind of go cruising here on the inside line, just following the footsteps of that 89, but also, again, saving fuel, I think, in that number 27 car. So we talked about the fuel numbers being in the low 30s probably, especially when you're full rich. I see nothing other than Nick DeGroot running probably map 1 here and just kind of foot to the floor all the way around. Might as well put a brick on that thing if he can. But then Craig Forsyth, I think he probably has some opportunities here. Maybe he's running map 3 or map 4 or even map 5 possibly, while also possibly even having to lift a little bit to make sure he doesn't get into the rear wing of that 89 car. So Craig could have some really good fuel mileage here.
Yeah, and I always like that kind of strategy, especially in these cars.
Yeah, so these you can really save a lot of fuel if you commit to a strategy and you stick with it all the way through. So definitely have to keep an eye on that. So I got another Team Aarhus, I should say, on our YouTube chat. So let's do an Anders check here. And right now, Anders running in the 6th position, just 2 down from where he started in 4th. But again, I think Anders, same thing. I think he's kind of doing long-term strategy racing right now, just cruising right now, right in 6th position, but right on the inside line. You see him kind of cruising behind team. And actually, we mentioned earlier, we saw drivers kind of bounce between 5th and 6th. I believe that was Scott Rankin we mentioned about that. Anders here, he's just cruising full on in 6th gear, Steve. Doesn't even drop it to 5th, even in the dirty air through the turn. So I think that, to me, says fuel save all the way around right now in that 10 car. So I think that's another one that we're going to be expecting to see try to go a little longer on this first run here should we go green, which, again, we're already on lap number 20.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I would be doing if I was saving fuel. I don't know what happened to Matt Wagner. He got stuck on the outside. I don't know if he skimmed the wall at some point, but he has dropped like a brick all the way to the back of the field. Yeah,
you're right. He's all the way now back down to 19th position, actually below where he started here tonight. And yeah, it just doesn't look like that car's able to pull up a little bit. So yeah, I wonder maybe a little bit of a kiss to the wall at some point in that 11. Trying to look at the front wing, end plates and such. Don't see anything out of the ordinary on the front of that car. Actually, no, I do, Steve. If you look at I think the right front wing, I think it's got a little bit of a crumple to it possibly, so maybe a little bit of contact front to rear for that number 6 machine. So yeah, Matt Wagner, maybe a little bit of damage to that front wing. I'm going to try to compare with some of our other drivers out here. We'll look at the back of Nick DeGroot's car, and yeah, to me, Craig's wing looks a lot more flat, whereas Matt's looked like it kind of had a little bit of an arc up. So I think, yeah, maybe a little bit of right front wing end plate damage to that 6 car. I think that might be what's dropping him back so far here early on.
I'm looking at it, I can't really tell.
Yeah, it's really hard to get a great look at it. But, I mean, at this point for Matt, he just needs to try to pace himself and just try to keep himself in the mix here. I mean, if he can stay in the draft, ideally, that's going to be what he needs to do, but he cannot pit at this point. He needs to try to run this out because if he does, he's easily going to go a lap down. But I think right now the strategy's got to be to run this first tank as far as possible, which again I think is probably about 10 laps most likely in the range for Nick DeGroot. The question is going to be how much further can drivers like Craig Forsyth, I'm even looking at Charles T now, he's really kind of, as I said, Charles gets a bad arrow wash there off of 4, almost gets into Anders Aarhus. Anders had to drive even wider, I should say, through 4 to get some space as we're squeezing 3 wide here between Anders Yari. And I think that was also, who was that? William George is in there, but now William's going to clear those guys, move himself up into 4th. But I say, yeah, 25 laps in now, and I think now we might be seeing some more drivers now that are taking care of their tires. As I said, contact. Yeah, we got a yellow. I think that was, again, just unfortunately the arrow wash there. I think Charles T I think that right front tire was just pretty much used up there. And unfortunately, that's going to send the 09 around. But I believe also, Eric Peterson also getting involved here as well. He's going to loop his car back around as well. It looks like might be okay. We'll try to take a look at the replay, but we definitely saw, unfortunately, though, it was just a case of, I think, Charles T just getting tight there out of turn number 4 here. We'll take a look at it one more time on the replay. Now you can see Charles just kind of drifting. I mean, it was really tight between them. I say possible net code, not 100% sure. I say Charles actually may have got a little piece of some contact as well, but look at these guys. Oh, Eric Schaus, Anders who's great avoidance there between them. And then I'll say, well, let's jump back over to see what happened to Eric Peterson, because he was a little further down the field here. I think just avoiding action. Yeah, he just catches a little bit of grass as well. Actually, a little further up, Jim Herrick actually had a little moment as well. He had to try to hustle that car. Actually, I think Jim actually got sent into the grass here. Yeah, he did. And then actually, oh, another one of the drivers there, I believe that was... Okay, that's not T... Yeah, there's another one of those cars in that wreck as well. So it looks like about 4 cars involved in that one, Steve. But we'll see if anybody needs fast repairs or not. See Jim Herrick actually, though, like I said, he's sliding through the grass. I'm surprised to see him stay out here. Maybe just staying out a lap and then going to drop into the pits. But looks like pretty much no questions here. All drivers here, 4 tires and fuel on this first pit stop.
And Charles Seed missed his pit stall. Took him quite a while to get the car oriented and into it properly, so he's going to lose a bunch of spots.
Yeah, say bad to worse there. So you never want to be one to cause a yellow, and then, yeah, unfortunately, pit miscue there as well. Also looking at longer pit stops as well. So, yeah, Charles Teed, about an 18-second stop, which usually means some body damage, maybe a front nose wing, front nose cone replacement. Same thing goes Jari Brupacher actually as well, 22 seconds and 26 seconds for Matt Wagner. So I think that answers our question about Matt as well, with some damage to that number 6 machine. So 3 drivers are having to pit, I believe, doing the long pits to save those fast repairs. But surprisingly here, Steve, I'm not sure about this, but Jim Herrick still looks like he is staying out. So he's going to have to pit in, I mean, unless he ducks in here late, but because it's not one to go yet. But if he does not pit here, Steve, he's going to probably have to pit in another, what, probably about 10 laps maybe.
Yep, 10 or 15 laps, I would guess. Depends on how much fuel he saved in that first run.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We do have a bunch of drivers here jumping back into the pits, including Charles Teed, Jari Brupacher, Jeff Heisong, Eric Peterson, and Matt Wagner. And saying all those drivers were towards the back to get to kick things off, so I think that's definitely not a bad call here. I'm not sure on the strategy side if it'll play an outcome on like a fuel stop difference or not, but I suspect we might see a few drivers here once also here hit pit road with a 1 to go. So but yeah, definitely Jim Herrick's one I'm going to keep an eye on here and see what he does.
I think we've seen somebody pull this strategy before and it didn't work out too well.
Yeah, I say if he does stay out here, it's definitely a big gamble. So we'll have to see. But yeah, yep, here he comes. He's going to hit pit road. So yeah, say Jim maybe just trying to get a bonus point there in the 40 car, and now switches it back over, which is going to put it back into the hands of Nick DeGroot. Saying Craig Forsyth right where he was pretty much this whole race here, going to restart right behind that number 89. And then, yeah, lots of drivers topping off here, Steve, as well. You got Joseph Morales, Jack Walls, Charles T. Jari Brupacher, Jeff Heisong, Eric Peterson, and Matt Wagner all going to top off here once again. So it looks like from about 14th on back are going to be drivers that are going ahead and take that little splash of fuel here. So we'll see how this is going to pan out, because we're going to restart here. Going to be lap number 30 when we go back to green.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe they changed this, but wouldn't Jim Herrick, since he didn't pit on the first lap or two, get a end of longest line because he entered a closed pit?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I think you might be right there, Steve. He might actually. I don't even think it's ending longest line. I think that usually is, a stop and either stop and go or stop and hold. Unless maybe it's something the admins will clear, just kind of knowing the circumstances of him staying out. So we'll see. Need to mention, though, Matt Wagner just now leaving pit road. I do not think he's going to catch the field here before we get back to green. So he's going to have to hustle it if he does. So any fuel saving he did there on the top off, he's going to lose it all, having to try to get this car back up. But right now, the pace car is just about to duck off here, and that's going to hand it back to Nick DeGroot. We'll keep an eye on that 6 car, see if he can regain position there. But it's going to be Nick DeGroot down and away. And I see one already hitting pit road, and yep, that's exactly it. We talked about, Steve. Jim Herrick, he does hit pit road there to serve that penalty.
So I think his strategy kind of backfired. whatever he was doing there.
Yeah, just he waited one lap too long. Like you said, if you don't pit the first 2 laps or so, and yeah, if you're gonna pit basically at the 1 to go, yeah, the pits are gonna be closed, and that's gonna send you to the end of the long, or sorry, send you a green flag pit stop penalty. So, unfortunately, a huge hit for Jim here. Looks like he's back down on the way, so he's just gonna lose the 1 lap here, but still, obviously, not an ideal situation for him. It's like, I think Craig looked like he was trying to be a little more aggressive here on that restart. Looked like he was going to try to pull an over-under there to see if he could find a way to get under Nick DeGroot off of turn number 4. But, I mean, Nick's been pretty much living on that white line there to try to keep that track position, which, I mean, if you're in that position, I mean, that's what you got to do to try to win these races, is keep that track position you have. Behind him, Anders Arhus has gotten around Eric Schaus. As I said, though, Eric's going to try to work the second line, I should say, here, try to get around that 10 car. And then right behind them, you got Alec Coates and Andrew Wood here for 5th and 6th.
Yeah, as you saw when I was out there during practice following Scott Rankin, he was doing the same thing that Nick DeGroot's doing right now. And I was trying everything I could to get a run on him. And there's no way I was going to get under him, because he was just way too close to the white line. But I just wasn't able to get outside and get close enough to get a run on him.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, and I think that's what we're talking about, is the risk versus reward. I think to make that outside line work, you're going to have to be very aggressive on that driver on the inside lane, which honestly probably puts you more at risk than the inside line driver, because I think you just have to really force them to stay just pinned as low as you can, or basically maybe get their car unsettled and they have to maybe roll out of the throttle. But as we've seen a lot of times, Steve, you touch that apron with these cars, you're going to spin out, and usually you're going to spin a little bit upwards before you finally work your way back down. So that's where kind of squeezing that guy on the inside line may not pan out as well as you'd hope it would.
Yep, and I got to experience that firsthand, hitting the apron.
Oh, we got trouble in the back. It looks like Andrew Wood, Eric Schaus. Andrew stuck up on the fence here. Eric's going to be able to get off and loop it around. Andrew, actually, a huge break for him. He's going to land on his wheels. That's going to put us back under yellow here. Those two were fighting pretty hard there for a few laps here. I say Andrew trying to limp this thing to pit road. You can see it just has no steering, and he's going to pretty much just have to try to ride the wall for these two. But it looks like they might have a chance here to see. Yeah, Andrew continues just to bounce off the wall to try to make it to pit road. I say that's to save him from going a lap down from having to take a tow. Let's go back and see what happened here between Andrew and Eric to bring out this yellow. All right, so we see Eric here entering turn number 3. And actually, you know what? Wasn't actually to do with either of them. It was actually a little bit of contact there between Scott Rankin and Eric Schaus. And unfortunately, Andrew had just nowhere to go. I said this does a little bit of a wall grind there, getting his best skateboarding impression. Unfortunately, not what he wants to be known for. But yeah, I said, and they kind of just ride the wall there until they're able to bounce off. But I believe Eric Schaus able to get back out on the lead lap. I don't think Andrew Wood was as lucky. I think did have to take a tow. We'll jump back live here. And so, yeah, indeed, Eric Schaus is back out on track. Andrew Wood, however, still sits in pit road. And, yeah, I think still having to finish that tow. So I believe that'll put Andrew down 1 lap. It should be a good break. Yep, it is a good break for Jim Herrick. He gets back on the lead lap nice and quick. So bad situation, turned back correct for him. And then pretty much here, Steve, most of the field here has opted to stay out. It looks like from about 9th on back with Scott Rankin, they have pitted. So we'll do this while we're under yellow once more. We'll step away for just a moment, and then we'll get back here on the 1 to go. right, we are back green here as Nick DeGroot takes the field back into turn number 1. So looking at the back, you can see definitely busy looking kind of in the midfield here, Steve. Yeah, right around Matt Wagner. Again, it's real tight there between them. Joseph Morales is right there in the thick of that as well. As again, Craig Forsyth just peeks out a little bit entering turn number 2 here, or turn 4 here. And actually, this is the best run we've seen all night long, Steve. Craig could steal a lap here through 3 and 4, and at the line, Craig should lead that lap. So that's going to be something I think that Craig's going to kind of have to keep in his back pockets, knowing that he's able to make a run to get to the end there, if he needs to use that at some point in this race towards the end of it.
Yeah, I just wonder if that'll work, for laps.
Yeah, that might be one of those restart magic tricks that you're able to do once and maybe not be able to do it under normal green flag conditions. So we'll keep an eye and we'll definitely watch and see. But right now, though, we're still got a lot of racing to go here, only on 42 of 125. So still got a fair bit until we even get to the halfway point of this race. But right now, again, for those that we're trying to keep an eye on, the first driver that topped off under that yellow is actually now going to be Matt Wagner in the 6th car, as he's working that outside line here right between Thaddeus McMurray. But again, on the fuel side, saving side of things, I would think these guys would want to just kind of cruise right now. But a lot of these drivers, Steve, I feel like they don't have really a cruise control button. These guys want to go for it. They want to try to get towards the front of this race here if they get the opportunity. But again, though, we're starting to get that gaggle of cars once more. Oh, we got trouble. Oh, we got one almost up and over there. Gary Corley, I believe that was. Charles Teed, I think, also involved. And, yeah, Corley still going backwards here. Teed, okay. However, Steve, they were off track, so no yellow here. So we're going to keep it green. So you can see Teed trying to grab a gear, get going again. Corley looped it back around as well, trying to get going as well here. It looks like they're going to get going again. Corley, though, now it's just basically how much damage they have, but he's got to be careful because he's going to have the pack coming at him with a big head of steam here as he heads into 1. This is going to get very dangerous there. You saw him cut straight to the apron and but yeah, I think Nick DeGroot there had definitely a moment there when he saw what was coming up in front of him, and then probably the same for Gary looking out the back in his mirror there. But it looks like, though, Charles Teed, he's able to get a gear and get going again, but not too far away from being put down a lap as well. I'm saying I believe most likely Gary Corley probably going to have to hit pit road here. So I'm going to try to do real quick, Steve. I'll let you keep an eye on things. We're going to go look and see what happened here between those drivers to send them off into the grass like that. However, if anything happens, come yell at me and we'll jump back.
Okay. Let me know when you find it. Meanwhile, I'm going to say Nick DeGroot is leading the race very comfortably. He's got Craig Forsyth sticking right on his back, and then you've got Alec Coates in 3rd. He's been running the outside and doing a good job of hanging on to 3rd despite being out there. And let's see, who's that trying to sneak by? That's Jim Brooks in 4th place on the inside. And it just seems like these guys are all kind of not able to gain a whole lot.
Yeah, and it just looks like Corley got loose out of 4 actually, and then just kind of unfortunately came across the nose of Charles Teed, and there's nothing Charles could do there as well. But I do need to mention, Charles has been able to grab a gear, and he's back at it right now. He's been able to keep that margin in front of the leaders. I honestly thought they'd kind of just swallow him up, but looking at his lap times last time, I was at 25:23. Nick DeGroot 25:22, so that car's still got pace on its own here. So right now, basically Charles is going to have to pretty much treat this as if he's the leader of this race right now, and just run pretty much as hard as he can. And then as for Gary Corley, I believe he did hit pit road to get, I believe, a fast repair done to that car. So now he's a couple laps down in the 7. Unfortunately, looks like 3 down. And Andrew Wood's still sitting at 2 laps down as things run.
And I'm going to guess that the reason that a solo car is able to run the same pace as somebody who's leading the pack is once again, because the guy who's on the front of a pack is not going any faster, even though he's getting a push from behind.
Oh, we got another one in the pit entry. Oh, Chummy Miller. Oh, we definitely got a wreck here down the backstretch. Yellow is now out. Say Chummy Miller involved in that, as well as I believe it was Jim Herrick I saw. And there's a third car. I think it was Alec Coates, unfortunately, too. Looks like some pretty severe damage to that left side, actually, altogether. Let's go back. We'll take a look. It's going to bring out our third yellow, though, of the evening. And I think that's going to be, I mean, that's going to save Charles Teed for sure. He's going to be able to swing around, stay on the lead lap, and also a great break for the 64 of Andrew to get one of his 2 laps back here. Let's go back, though, and see what exactly happened to that number 04 to start things off here.
I think that started with Alec Coates hitting the wall going into turn 1. It just looked like he was grouping it.
Yeah, I already saw him in the wall. I think, unfortunately for Chummy Miller, he reacted to it to such. And then, yeah, unfortunately, then he kind of got down onto the apron. Yeah, I mean, Alec Coates was fighting for third place here, Steve. So say we'll kind of watch it here slow. Oh, actually, a really bad net code between Jim and the 51 and the 3. And so, yeah, Alec just goes along for the ride. So nothing Alec could do there. Just massive net code between the 2 of them. And then unfortunately, that's where then the reactions come from drivers trying to make sure they give a little bit of room here. As you already see Chummy Miller kind of flirting with the apron there, and saved it once, but was not able to save it that second time. And then also, I believe at some point we're going to see Jim Herrick get a piece of this as well. And yeah, just kind of blinded from in front of it, wasn't sure which way to go, and then fortunately caught the left side of that number of the number 3 car. So we'll jump back live here though, Steve, because once again here's some strategies showing up yet again. And it's going to be with all of our leaders except Matt Wagner hitting pit road.
Yeah, Matt's he's doing that yo-yo thing. Up to the front, back to the back, back to the front. I think he's going to have to pit here, though. He's just staying out to lead a lap, I think.
Well, I'll say the driver that's going to be hoping that's the case is Gary Corley, because you know Gary's going to want to wave around here and get one of those laps back, staying out here. So we'll keep an eye on Matt and see what he does. But yeah, indeed, the rest of the field here has indeed pitted there. And like I mentioned, Andrew Wood now 1 lap down. However, is going to have to compete with Alec Coates possibly for that lucky dog position, as Alec was able to get back out on track and only losing the 1 position. Or the 1 lap, I should say. Matt's staying out here, so he'll say Gary Corley's not going to be a fan of that one, Steve.
No, definitely not. So I believe that everybody else other than Matt is going to be able to make this on 1 stop. Matt is going to need some help, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to keep an eye and see things. So, yes, it's gonna be. I'm looking at the lap difference, Steve, and I mean it's lap 36 to lap 53. I mean that's no small margin. I mean we're looking at what 17 laps difference.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, even if Matt was running with draft, I don't see how he makes it a 1-stop race, having last pitted at lap 36. And obviously, leading the pack, he's not going to have draft, so he won't be saving any fuel up there.
Yeah, because so 30-55. It's probably going to be about what? Maybe he can go another. Trying to do the quick math here. So he's gone about 20, we'll say. So he can maybe go another 20 if he's been really saving fuel, if I'm looking at numbers right.
So if he goes another 20, that puts him to lap 75.
That's still 50 to go. I feel like he might be 1 pit stop off right now, the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's what I think. So he's, I imagine he's got to be banking on another yellow.
Yeah, it's very possible. I was saying, as I say, that's actually a car kind of. I would say maybe me, maybe him. Not sure. Say a little bit of connection issue there, possibly. But yeah, so yeah, like said Steve, though, we're gonna be restarting this thing on 57 here of 125. So yeah, we'll see what how the strategies are gonna unfold between some of these guys. You see Eric Schaus, he's already shortcutting the track here. Say Eric doing Eric things. Always one for strategy. So. We'll see if Eric's got anything in his ideas on the strategy side of things. So, yeah, we'll stick around and wait and see. And we're going to get things going back here in just a moment.
Yeah, we missed that last season, didn't we?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if the connection issues on my end, Steve, or if you're seeing him blink as well, but that's always a concern, especially when you're in a big pack like this. So we'll see what Matt decides to do here once we get going green here. And also on the YouTube side of things, if my connection's having some troubles, I apologize. So I'm trying to see what's going on, but not a lot I can change at the moment as we get back to green here, starting lap number 57.
You sound fine on Discord, but I haven't seen Matt blinking, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, so I've last couple of races I had some hiccups on the broadcast side with I don't know if it's internet or what, but I think maybe Matt Wagner just said, you know what, Nick's had too easy of a go here. I'm going to make him have to be in the draft of somebody, and just kind of force his hand at this point. Maybe he felt like that 89 was just having too easy of a race. So just stick him in some dirty air for a little while and see what he can do to kind of just change the stuff a little bit. Right now, the top 5 spread out just a little bit here from the rest. I'll say they're going to obviously. I mean, the draft's going to bring everybody right back into the thick of this one, but yeah, right now though, Matt holding solidly in that lead spot here. Now Craig thinking about maybe trying to move around a little bit, because I'll say Craig now kind of in a spot that he hasn't been most of the race, which is not in second position, right? I say still following Nick DeGroot like he has all race, but just one spot back than he's been most of the time here tonight.
Yeah, and now Craig is kind of sticking his nose on the outside, similar to what Alec Coates was doing earlier.
Yeah, so you also see now working that third lane, Scott Rankin trying to make something happen up there. So we saw Scott slightly involved in an earlier incident that involved Eric Schaus, as well as it was Eric Schaus and Andrew Wood. So say these guys trying to kind of get some recovery drives themselves back up here. Eric's done a good job back up into 7th position there in that second groove as well. Same thing goes as well there. Thaddeus McMurray is starting to make his charge back up front here. So we'll have to keep an eye and see what's going on. But right now is pretty calm, I'd say, from about 5th on back. However, our top 4 or so, Steve, they are going after it.
Yeah, they definitely are.
I think what this might too be, Steve, is this might be that fight of trying to get yourself in that position in front of, so basically like Craig Forsyth and Nick DeGroot trying to basically fight with each other, say, hey, I want to try to be that car that's leading when Matt Wagner has to pit. Because again, we talked about it, him last pitting on 36, so we don't see it being too long until he's going to have to make a scheduled stop if we don't get that yellow. So like I said, I'm not solid on this strategy by Matt. We think probably about maybe 10 more laps until he has to pit. But yeah, right now though, still able to, let's say, control this race. As you can see, it's very difficult to pass. I'd say just pretty much just protect that white line, Steve, and it's going to be a very tough job to find a way to get around that leader, it looks like, tonight.
Yeah, the one thing, like you were saying, the guys behind him know that he's only going to be in the lead for a few more laps, and then they don't have to worry about trying to pass him.
Yeah, I'm saying right now things up front have actually calmed down just a little bit, starting to pick up a little further back though. You got TJ Allen trying to work around Andres R, who's there. Eric Schaus is right there as well. We just mentioned Thaddeus McMurray. William George is in the thick of this one as well. So I'll say these guys are starting to maybe dice it up just a little more. Also Eric Peterson trying to work his way back up as well in that 36 car. So right now a lot of different strategies right now. And also the lucky dog battle here, Steve. Right now Alec Coates in the 3 has it. Andrew Wood, though, is right there and wants to be in that position just in case of a yellow. You never know. So he'd like to put himself in front just in case you get that untimely yellow. You never want to be looking at the car that is in front of you for a position when it comes out.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, same here. So, but yeah, so right now though, I say we're getting close to that number though, Steve. I say we're at 66. So we talked about being in the probably in the mid 70s before Matt's going to have to pit. So, yeah, it's not too far away. We're down to 59 to go in this race here as well. So we've crossed the halfway, or just about to cross the half. No, we have crossed the halfway point. Math is hard. But yeah, so right now though, Matt continues the lead. But right now, looks like Nick DeGroot's going to be able to kind of cycle out in the front of this one once he does pit in that number 6. But then say Jim Brooks, so he's been able to sneak up around Craig Forsyth now and move himself up into 3rd currently.
All right, so this is about the 30 lap mark for Matt since he last took on fuel. I'm going to give another 10 laps, I think.
Yeah, because we were talking about that pre-race where basically what he's doing right now, leading all this time, probably about 33 or so laps. However, he only is in this position now as he stayed out during one of the yellows. So for Matt Wagner, I think what he does right here is, like you said, Steve, now, yeah, his fuel mileage now is going to be pretty low. However, he was probably able to save a ton during the yellow, but then also saving a good bit of fuel as well when he was in the draft pack as well. So, yeah, now it's just a question mark of when he has to make that duck in the pit road. And, of course, as well, needs to make sure it's a nice and clean entry because we haven't had that green flag pit stop yet for any of these drivers. So this would be his first attempt of doing so. And you never, to me at least, you never really want to be the first one to do it in front of the entire field, though. That's always a little bit stressful. So I think what you'll see is obviously he'll call it out in the chat, and I'm sure you'll hear it. But then these drivers, you'll probably see them all start to adjust their lines up probably a groove or so to give himself a little bit of space.
Okay, let's predict a lap. I'm going to go lap 76.
Yeah, I was actually pretty much right around where I was thinking too. So I'm going to say him leading here is going to work his field a little harder than he wants to. So I'm going to put him in at lap 74. So in about 3 more laps, we'll see that number 6 car hit pit road.
And by the way, I did see him blink a couple times.
Okay, so I mean, at least it's not me. I'm not too crazy. More so than I know I am, but yeah, no. Right now, though, I say it's just right now. It's really a strategy game. We do have a few drivers also top off under that yellow, so we got some drivers at 53 that pitted, some at 55. Charles Teed being the first of those that did pit at that 55 mark. So yeah, right now we'll have to keep an eye, but looks like everybody's starting to give themselves a little more room, I feel like, Steve, through the corners. Really not everybody kind of bunching each other up as tightly as we saw a little earlier. So maybe that net code incident we saw maybe kind of caught people's attention, say, okay, I can't squeeze as much I'd like to. Let's just give a little more breathing room here with these guys around us.
Yeah, they may have just decided to settle in knowing that everybody's going to have to pit once more.
Yeah, as I said, of course, the driver that's not settling in, which must say again to me, I think this is that aggressive side of trying to make sure you're in a good position in case of yellow. That's going to be Andrew Wood. He's gotten around Alec Coates and he's down and past him, so that's going to now put him in that lucky dog position. But at this rate, he might even get a chance to try to be able to unlap himself if he can. But Matt, we're starting lap number 75 now, so unfortunately I am off on my number. So this is kind of the in-between us. So if he pits this time, we're both a lap off. Otherwise, it's going to go to you here. So we'll see what Matt's got in store here.
And if he doesn't pit soon, we may have to tear that car down for another fuel tank.
Yeah, so he might be having some really long fuel hoses in that number 6 car, just able to kind of weave their way around to give him that little bit of extra work. So that's a great point, though, Steve. And I think that's when these drivers are going to have to keep in mind of, too, is the fact that pitting at 36 last, now we're at 76. I mean, that is 40 laps, of course, with a yellow, but still 40 laps on fuel is a very impressive number, and he's going to prove us both wrong here, so he's going to go even beyond 76 laps here. So he's up now into 41 laps on a tank of gas.
He keyed up. He's going to pit this lap.
All right, so you were 1 off, Steve. But what that tells me, though, Steve, we're at 49 to go. the rest of these drivers, I think, should be able to make it on one more stop. Jim Brooks is going to be in a tight position here. He drifts up just a little bit. And it looks like he's going to get through clean. Looks like Matt Wagner, he's down to speed nice and safely as well. But Nick DeGroot's going to take the point back in this race. Has pretty much been showing this lead all race long. So now if we get to these leaders' pit stops, it's going to really be all about that in and out lap. But at this point, Steve, they've gone about, 25 laps. So again, based on our numbers now from Matt as well here, probably can go another 15 laps, I would say, which again will easily get them in their window. So now I think it's going to be kind of which driver wants to blink first to kind of roll that dice.
Yep.
But I think, as Jim just touched the apron, able to gather it back. But I think with as hard as these guys are racing right now, I do not pit until I absolutely have to. Because if you pit here under green, you're going to lose a lap. So I mean, I think that's going to be the thing that drivers are going to have to be aware of, is you do not want to go a lap down, because if you get that yellow, sure, you'll get your lap back, but you're going to be at the tail end of the field, and we've seen how difficult it is to get back towards the front. So right now, let's say it's going to be Nick DeGroot, and again, now I think same thing for Jim Brooks. Just needs to pace himself, kind of take it easy, maybe save a little bit more fuel over Nick, and I think it's going to be all about kind of who's basically the bravest on the pit entries and exits here. And maybe, I don't think we'll see fuel strategy of anybody taking fuel only, but maybe that little bit less fuel might be enough to make a difference between having to wait for fuel versus just having to go as soon as those tires are on and secured. So say while we have a moment, let's run through the field. Haven't done that here tonight as we got 44 to go. So right now Nick DeGroot leading Jim Brooks there in second, and battle for third. Currently Craig Forsyth showing in third, William George in fourth, as they kind of ebbs and flows as one gets momentum over the other. And then rounding out our top five is Thaddeus McMurray in the number 37. In sixth, recovering from earlier incident, is Eric Schaus. And then you got Anders Arhus there in seventh, Scott Rankin in eighth right next to him. Ninth is TJ Allen in that number 95 machine. And then rounding out our top 10 is the number 36 of Eric Peterson. 11th, you have Charles Teed. 12th is Jack Walls. 13th, Joseph Morales. 14th, you have Yari Brupacher. And 15th is Jeff Heisong. And then right now, that's going to be the 15 on the lead lap. 16th, first car, one down here is Andrew Wood. And then right now, Alec Coates starting to put the pressure back on him again for that lucky dog position. And then right now, the last car on the one lap down, Matt Wagner, again, having to pit, was off sequence. Didn't get the caution he was hoping for. So he's still got one more stop to go to be able to make it to the end. Whereas these guys, I think their next stop, they can make it as well. So right now, definitely advantage in the court of these drivers here up front, as we've got now 41 to go, Steve.
And what Matt Wagner would be hoping for right now is that all these guys have to pit under green, which would put him on the same sequence, or he'd be back on the same lap with them, but he'd still need another pit stop, so then he's going to have to hope for a caution to come out.
Yeah, it's going to be all about, I think, the timing of the yellow, because you're right. I mean, if there's a quick yellow after their pit stops, none of the leaders will come back in again. He'll just have to pit by himself. Maybe, though, if there's a caution right before he has to make his final stop, that might push some drivers in to want to have those tires, again, to kind of offset the dirty air in these cars. So it's going to be a gamble all the way around here, because I say we're now 39 to go, so that pit window is probably opening soon. As I said, actually, Jack Walls, I think he's going to be the first of those that maybe try to make that long strategy happen here. We'll take a look, see if that car pops up for tires. Or it looks like, I think, fuel only, if I'm not mistaken here, Steve, for Jack Walls. I'm trying to double see if that car drops around, but I never saw it go up in the air. But it looks like a lengthy stop, so whatever it was, actually, I don't think this is what Jack was hoping for. So he's actually going to go a lap down, as he's still sitting on pit road now for over 20 seconds. So yeah, whatever Jack had to go in there for was not what he was aiming for there, unfortunately, in the 83.
I wonder if he sped on the way in or if he had to fix damage.
So yeah, it looks like still sitting on pit road. So if it's about a 48-second stop, that kind of answer the questions. But it looks like he may have actually retired from the event. I think we got one down in the grass here. Chummy Miller, I think, also possibly Yari Brubacher. Yeah, but Yari involved as well, and I think I also saw Gary Corley possibly involved as well. So, but we stayed green with all of this. Let me go back, try to find it real quick here, Steve, and see if we can see how this all came about.
So I've seen a lot of people keying up, but maybe the guys that were in the incident, because I didn't see anybody pit yet.
Yeah, so I'm trying to see where the incident kind of came about here. Oh, I think it was Gary Corley, kind of a late pit entry. And then, yeah, you can see Chummy Miller then reacting to it. And then, unfortunately, oh, we got a wreck. Oh, yep, caution is out, Steve. Let's go up and see where it is. And it looks like, oh, Thaddeus McMurray's involved as he catches TJ Allen for good measure there, unfortunately. And also, we've got, who is that sneaking by? Jeff Hysong possibly involved. So, yeah, so that's going to bring out a yellow here. And like we said, it's going to be a great break. Actually, going to be, I think, Alec Coates here, Steve, who's going to wind up in the front. Oh, Charles Teed, you can see damage to his car as well. So while we're looking at the previous incident, we had another one here. So let's go see what exactly happened here. And it looks like it may have been around Scott Rankin, if I'm looking at it correctly. We'll kind of hunt around here and try to find it. Find Scott.
I think that may have been Andrew Wood that was pitting, maybe, and
oh, yep, I see it right on the outside of our screen there. Yeah, I think it was actually the 95 of TJ. No, it wasn't TJ Allen, actually. I think it was Chummy Miller. No, it wasn't Chummy. That leaves one driver left, and that would be William George that was hitting pit road. So let's go back one more time. Say it's tricky when they all have the same paint scheme. Sometimes you get a little lost here. But yeah, that was unfortunate, though. It looks like William George that was hitting pit road here. And then you can see just catches the apron a little bit, which just washes him back up on track. And then unfortunately, that car behind just cut down a little too soon. And then you can see, like you said, Steve, a big wreck behind, just everybody getting stacked up. And this one looks like about 5 cars. There's Charles T, just nowhere for him to go as well. And then even a little further down there, you see the 40 going through Jim Herrick down in the grass with along with Scott Rankin. So yeah, so numerous cars involved in this incident here. But we'll jump back. Oh, he takes another shot there at the very end. We'll say we're going to jump back live, though, Steve, because pit stops have just completed here. And it looks like Nick DeGroot going to win the race off of pit road. And we're going to have a few drivers here, of course, those, like we talked about, staying out to get back on the lead lap. It's going to include Andrew Wood and Matt Wagner. As we mentioned, Alec Coates able to get the wave around there. As I said, actually, Andrew Wood's going to hit pit road. A little surprised on that one. So Matt Wagner, though, he's going to stay out along with Gary Corley. And that will give us, I believe, 13 cars on the lead lap at the moment.
I think oh no, Andrew Wood was at the tail end of the lead lap.
So. Yeah, he was tail end lead lap and opted to pit. Probably wasn't too far away from having to make a green flag pit stop anyway. So I think that's unfortunately probably the right call for him. And then also, like I mentioned, though, looking at some of the other drivers in the field here, so I think he's going to be maybe not quite on his own. He's going to have, I think, Yari Brubacher to contend with. Actually, no, Yari, he's just trying to limp that thing, try to do something with that car. But you can see that car, it's unfortunately looks to be pretty done for here. So might actually be the good opportunity here for Andrew. I think will be the only car one down. It looks like everybody else is going to be 2 or 3 or more laps down here. So not actually a bad call for Andrew here, because just in case there's a yellow, then he'll get that wave around. So I think here you just kind of put it on cruise control and just keep your car in shape in case of a late yellow here, because we still got 33 to go here. Going to probably be about 31. It looks like 31 laps to go once we get back to green.
Yeah, strategy makes sense from what you described, I think.
A little surprised I see a few drivers topping off here. Jeff Hysong, Charles Teed, Alec Coates. I'm not sure why they all jump back in the pits here. To me, I mean, at this point, everybody should have been good to go to the end. Say Charles T had a very lengthy pit stop in that 50 car. Not sure, maybe opted to try to get damages repaired done manually to his car. But with that, though, we are back on the one to go here, Steve. And familiar face back up front here, Nick DeGroot started on pole and has been pretty much in control of this entire race.
And Jim Brooks doing a great job hanging on to second place.
Yeah, I think that last run really was able to kind of work his way towards the front here. But now this is where it's that risk versus reward, I feel like, Steve. We saw Craig Forsyth. He was able to get a good restart, grab a lap lead, and then had to tuck right back in. But like I said, I think without a mistake, I don't know if there's going to be a way to get around Nick DeGroot. Just because these cars are very difficult to pass in, and two, I mean, Nick is just that good. He just does not make many mistakes. And I think that's really what it's going to take for anybody to get around him here tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, Steve, the pace car is just about to make that sharp left, and it's going to restart this one with 31 to go. Our top five: Nick DeGroot, Jim Brooks, Craig Forsyth, Eric Schaus, and Anders Arhus. As you can see right away, Nick taking no risk, going to restart this thing right on that white line as we go back to green here, 31 to go.
Yep, and that made it hard for Craig Forsyth to try and get a jump on Jim Brooks in second. But we do have now he's got some momentum, though. Here he comes.
Oh, we got a wreck in the back. Oh, big wreck in the back. And actually, the timing of the yellow, we'll see. It could have been Craig at the nose ahead there. And I believe it may have involved... Oh, yeah, Andrew Wood is up on his lid. I think Matt Wagner also involved, yeah. So some of our heavy hitters here. Gary Corley, I think, also a piece of this one. So big wreck for these guys. We got to go back and see how this one all unfolded, because that's honestly a little surprising to have those guys be involved in an incident. Oh, and I already see it happening. Andrew Wood caught the apron, tries to catch it. Unfortunately, catches it right in the front of the path of that number 6 car. And then from there, it's just all bets are off. And unfortunately, right in the path of Gary Corley. And I say one of these drivers, it looks like it was Matt Wagner, got some serious airtime there. And unfortunately, we'll have to see if any of them have fast repairs left. That this could be the evening for a couple of them. Unfortunately here, say a little short of the finish. So unfortunately, we talked about Andrew being in the catbird seat to get back on the lead lap, unfortunately, in the incident. So he is unfortunately going to have to take a tow, as you can see, just that car is not going to flip back over there. So he's going to jump back to the pits as we are back under yellow here. And looks like Nick DeGroot was able to hold onto the lead, but now move Craig up into second. So once more, again, just kind of quick yellow here. So we'll step away for a moment, and then we'll rejoin here once more on the one to go.
So that...
All right, we are back. And Steve, we're going to get this thing going once more here at lap number 100 of 125. So 26 to go at the line. And again, got to make note of this. There are no green, white, checkered. So lap 125 will be the final lap of this race, whether it's under green or under yellow. So that also might ramp things up a little bit more here, especially when you're kind of maybe in the, I wouldn't say mid pack here at this point, because right now we only have 11 on the lead lap here. But I think if you're in that maybe like 6th through 11th window, you might start to step it up just a little bit extra here. So I'll say we'll see what we got. I'll say Craig, obviously a great restart for him, able to jump from 3rd to 2nd. See if he can maybe make some more magic happen on this one here, as we're going to again restarting this one with 26 to go, as Nick DeGroot still leads the way.
I wonder if Eric Schaus is going to, if he learned a little bit from watching what Craig did on that last restart, because I could see him trying to do the same thing here.
Yeah, I see a lot of cars kind of peeking out, trying to be ready in case they get a good exit there. But it looks like so far, say nothing for Nick DeGroot. He's going to get a great initial start here, but now can Craig get that big momentum that he needs? But look at Nick DeGroot here running the top side through 1 and 2. Didn't expect to see that there. Of course, going to go straight to the bottom as Craig shuts the door on Jim Brooks there. And now he's going to peek back up top here through 3 and 4. And you talk about Eric Schaus, he's going to join the mix here as well in that number 20, or sorry, the 72 car, as Jim Brooks is going to tuck in on the inside line behind Nick DeGroot.
And Eric's up on the high side, making it 3 wide.
Yeah, Eric's going to try the 3rd lane, but say it'll work for a little bit, but then you're going to eventually have to tuck back in. So like you said, Steve, there's just the inside pace it's just too high. Nick can just keep that thing completely foot to the floor, wound up there through on the inside line. So it's just a shorter distance, and it's not tight enough to kind of force the inside line to maybe lose some momentum on the exit. So right now, I think Eric probably fighting to try to be the first car on the outside lane. But right now, Craig's going to be a tough one to get around on that one. And then while they do that, too, Jim Brooks might be able to sneak around the both of them using that draft behind the 89 of Nick DeGroot. So we'll have to wait and see. And even Scott Rankin, last week's winner, he's creeped up into the mix here as well. Kind of has had an up-and-down day himself. As you see, Craig, I think Craig saw Scott coming, and immediately he's like, nope, I got to close this door, otherwise I'm going to drop even further back.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. That's one problem of running on the outside. Is you leave that door open on the inside, and once somebody gets underneath you, chances are you're going to lose that spot.
Yeah, it's a really tough position to be in. Like I said, just with the way these cars drive and everything. Like you said, the leader he's just in the catbird seat. Unless there's a fuel mileage concern, which at this point, obviously, I don't think anybody's got any fuel concerns to the end. So for Nick, he's just got to make sure, like I said, just no mistakes. Don't touch that white line anywhere around the track. There's no need to make any extra risk. He just needs to basically make sure he leaves less than a car width between himself and that white line on the exits. And if he can do that, he should be sitting pretty the rest of the way.
And I will say the outside line does work to the extent that you can get up to 3rd or 2nd place maybe, but you're not going to pass the leader.
Yeah, and I think yeah, that's exactly it. So right now, I think it's going to be kind of the fight for as things run, I should say, kind of the fight for the podium positions here between Jim Brooks, Craig Forsyth, Eric Schaus. At this point, even throw Eric Peterson, Scott Rankin into the mix as well, because they're starting to work their way up into it as well here. So, but you never know. Maybe we'll see some strategy from these guys that are second on back. Say, hey, we got to do something. Maybe try to roll back a little bit, kind of get that big run off the exit and see if we can just maybe get enough momentum to make something happen. We saw, like I said, you mentioned, Steve, we saw Craig do it on that restart. Got a lap let out of it. Can anybody do it during a green flag condition here tonight? Maybe someone hasn't really shown their full hand of a move they can try. But at this point, to me at least, I feel like Nick's just shown that he's going to be too strong and too difficult to get around on that outside line. Just because, again, he's able to keep that momentum built up enough where he doesn't lose that exit speed.
Yeah, basically his race to lose at this point. I guess the more interesting battle right now is between Eric Schaus and Craig Forsyth and Jim Brooks.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really good battle for third between those three, and even like I said, I'm not counting out Eric Peterson yet as well as Scott Rankin. I still think these guys have a chance to try to make some sort of a move to get into the thick of this battle as well. It's just basically, like I said, just someone needs to make just maybe a small bobble, and someone's going to fill that gap as soon as they get the opportunity to. But right now, though, we've got 16 to go. Next time by is going to be 15 laps left. But I don't think you're going to see that 51 move off the rear wing of the 89 until maybe out of turn number. Oh, another neck. Oh, man. Eric Schaus, nothing he did wrong. Just another neck foot incident between himself and Jim Brooks, I think, because that car just cut straight to the right. And I think it was identical to what we saw happen to the number 3, I believe it was, of Alec Coates earlier. And so, unfortunately, that's going to take Eric out of the running. Nothing that he could do about that. Just unfortunately, it just looks like a connectivity issue. Something going on. It looks to be with the 51 car. Just every so often, the car just something acts as if there's something that he's up a groove or two, and unfortunately, just makes some drivers have a tough evening, tough finish there. Which unfortunately, this time is Eric Schaus.
Yeah, it's a shame because there was a good car width between the two of them.
Oh yeah, there was a ton of space, and like I said, it looks near identical to what happened between Jim and Alec Coates, and so I say that's always a tough one to call your own dad out on, but unfortunately, I say when it was the same car on the inside line 2 times in a row, and it just the way it looked was the car reacted as if it got hit. So again, of course, not sure if it could be on the iRacing side, could be on just his connection side, but. Definitely just unfortunately hate it for Eric, and say unfortunately looks like his night is done as he had used his fast repair earlier on in the evening. And then Alec Coates, I say he still has a chance to recover as he's still sitting in that top 7.
It could be, your dad might have a little bit of Gunga Din stuff going on there. Or James Bond stuff, Yeah.
That is true. I say he might have a little bit of some magic buttons to. We were joking at a race the other night with another league where the leader is having terrible connectivity, and then on the restart, his car started blinking, and before we realized that he had actually gone green, or he had already got going on the restart because the leader has control of it, and he was gone. And it's like, oh, we didn't even see you. How are we supposed to know you were gone? Actually, look at this. Eric Schaus actually still on track somehow in that 72 car. So good on Eric for being able to stick it out. So just at this point trying to salvage at least what he can. But yeah, unfortunately, it's a tough spot to be in as we got 10 to go. But now if you're Craig Forsyth, you're probably a little nervous here behind or next to that 51. I mean, if I'm in his shoes, I'd be feeling a little bit worried about being in that spot.
Yeah, I think if I'm Craig, I'm not going to try passing until I come off turn 4 on the last lap.
Yeah, I mean that may not be a bad idea to do, but he might have to though because do what he's doing here, because I mean you look right there on the outside there of Charles Teed was trying to sneak in. There was Eric Peterson, so I'll say these guys aren't done trying to find the way, because I think if Craig stays committed to the inside line, it's going to promote Eric Peterson up into that second line up on the outside. But that's a good exit there for Craig though, almost able to get right to the almost side pod there of Nick DeGroote. Again, we watch off of Charles Teed's view. I'm sorry. So Craig's starting to find a little bit of momentum here off of the exits here.
I don't know though. I mean, I think I would rather be on the inside in 3rd place than on the outside where he is right now, because that's opening the door for whoever's on the inside to get by into 3rd. But he's keeping good enough momentum up there. He keeps getting at least next to the 2nd place car.
Yeah, and the other thing too, what he's doing is running that second groove, is getting clean air on the front wing of that car. And I think that honestly is probably the biggest benefit. Whereas Jim Brooks, Charles Teed, they're following the dirty air of the 89 of Nick DeGroote. And while it's probably not too terrible, I think the further back you get, the worse it is. Like I think Teed's probably having a worse time of it than maybe Jim is. But I think that's a big benefit here for Craig, is able to keep that clean air on the nose on that front wing. But you're right though. I mean, you can see Charles is just starting to peek in underneath Craig Forsyth here for that 3rd position. And I say we're going to be coming around here 5-0, and you can see, yeah, Charles is starting to get a little tight there off of turn number 4, and that's allowed Craig to sneak back to the inside line.
I will say, from having been in that kind of position, it is intensely frustrating knowing that it's so hard to gain a spot.
Yeah, no, this is a very tough position to be in if you're where Scott Rankin is, if you're where Eric Peterson is, Jeff Heisong, because you're like, man, if I was where Nick was, I'd be able to win this race too. And that's the thing is, I mean, that's where it's a little bit of everything. You see Craig here is going to go for a big over under there, I say, but the door kind of got closed before he was able to cut straight to the bottom. But Craig is trying everything now to make the eight big exits here. Is actually Charles T. just talked about that, Steve. He's able to sneak around, so maybe this will be Charles' opportunity to sneak to the outside. Again, arrow push. Just able to hold on to that car and not get to the side of that 27. We're going to have 2 to go here at the line, Steve. Right now, it looks like a battle for third is what we're going to see here between Craig and Charles. But do we see, say, this might be an opportunity. You see Jim, he's starting to move up a little bit, try to see if he can do something. But right away, though, Craig filled that mirror up really quickly, and I think Jim had to go straight back to the bottom.
And Craig's he's not giving up.
I say Norris, Charles T. I think these two are going to try to go after it with one another to see who can grab that second, if not third position, as we get the white flag here. So we've got 1 to go here. Still going to be Nick DeGroot leading Jim Brooks at the moment in second. But can Craig Forsyth make a move? Charles Teed. We'll see if anybody can make that late lunge to the outside. Jim starting to peak, but no, he knows he can't do anything. He's going to stay back in line behind. It's going to be now between the 27 and... Oh, we got wrecked in the back here, but it's not going to affect up front. And it's going to be Nick DeGroot getting the win. And second, third, it's going to be tight there. I think Craig Forsyth grabs second position, and it looks like Jim Brooks still going to grab third by just a 100th of a second over Charles Teed there. Charles made a great last lap move to have a chance there. We'll go back, Steve. We got to look at that once more. Slow it on down as well. As it looks like it was contact between Jeff Heisong and Scott Rankin there at the very end. But I want to look here at the finish line because that was tight between second, third, and fourth.
I'm showing on my results that Jim Brooks got second.
Well, we'll take a look.
Or third. Sorry, third.
Yeah, I saw the same as well, so we'll try to slow it down here at the line. And yeah, I mean, you can see there, Craig's easily got a wing ahead, or actually, I should half a car ahead. But it looks like about a wing or so difference between Jim and Charles Teed. So, like I said, hats off to Charles there, trying to make a big charge there at the very end. Almost got there. But yeah, so that being said, though, nothing was going to stop Nick DeGroot here tonight. So I say while we look at that, we'll go ahead and pull up our final results before we get into our interviews here, Steve. And it's going to be Nick DeGroot with the win over Craig Forsyth. Jim Brooks there in third, Charles Teed in fourth. And yeah, it looks like what, 14 thousandths of a second roughly between the two of them. Eric Peterson gets a top 5. Scott Rankin is 6th. And you got Alec Coates, Joseph Morales, Anders Arhus, Jeff Heisong rounding out our top 10. Thaddeus McMurray, Yari Brupacher, Jim Herrick, Eric Schaus, Gary Corley, Andrew Wood, Matt Wagner, and TJ Allen are top 18. And our final results here tonight are going to be TJ Allen, William George, Chummy Miller, and Jack Walls, unfortunately, all with early retirements from the event this evening. All right, so with that, we got to chat with some people, and we'll see if one didn't sneak off already. No, he's still around, so let's go ahead and pull him on in here. And that is going to be our third place finisher, and that is going to be the number 51 of Jim Brooks. All right, Steve, so we're going to grab Jim on in here. So the whole last fuel run there is probably kind of feel like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do you try to pass Nick and give up the inside line? Or what's the right plan? It looked like a few times you wanted to try to make that outside line work, but then looked like Craig would try to fill that gap up pretty quick, so you kind of had to duck back in there. But obviously that leading and being on the white line was pretty much what you had to do to win this race to where Nick was. I mean, did you have any thoughts of trying anything else to sneak around the 89 car at the end, or is it kind of just basically try to get the best result you could, be at second or third or fourth there?
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen. Nobody had been able to pass like that, and Craig was just getting the run from me and then going into the corner, and I sort of got a little air on him the first two times he tried it with two or so to go. I was hoping I could do that again, but it didn't work. He's too good for that, so he was able to sneak by. But yeah, in fact, I got just the fuel I needed. Crew chief told me, and then I go back out there, and all of a sudden he's saying I'm a gallon short. So I had to change the fuel map for most of that run to be able to make it in. I had less than a half a gallon left.
I'm sure that didn't help too.
No, and it was, I mean, this is kind of typical of this track. As long as you have a fairly good setup, the leader's not going to be able to get moved off that bottom line. But and then Nick's hard to beat no matter where he's at.
Yeah, that's something we were talking about. Was it was going to basically have to be somebody either forcing Nick into a mistake or him making a mistake on his own, which both of which are very uncommon to see. So, I mean, a good result for you to say to go from, I believe, 12th to 3rd here tonight. Let's say so. Obviously, a solid result for to kind of kick off this season after last week's run as well. So, definitely want to give you the floor. Any thanks or shouts you'd like to give for that podium finish tonight?
Yeah, just tell Eric sorry about that. I mean, it was a net code, not much you can do about it. But really, we're a little too tight on some of those side drafting things. But no, just thanks you guys for being here, and Area 51, TJ Chummy, and their esports group. That's our sponsor now and partner. They've really came on and helped us. So thank them for that, and all the drivers that came out.
Well, congrats on that top 3. Enjoy this one, and we'll be seeing you again soon, hopefully.
All right, thanks to you and Steve.
Great run, Jim.
Thanks, man.
All right, we'll switch things over to Craig Forsyth now in that number 27. So we'll hunt him on down here as we take a look at that car, as we get a chance to talk to him. Because I believe, it hasn't been a lot of good luck for Craig so far in 2022. So I was going to ask if at some point you're going to have to change your paint scheme and go back to kind of the old, what do you call it, the old familiar, if you will, old faithful, if you will, even, if things weren't turning around. But say, obviously, start second, finish second, with a track that was very difficult to pass at, but you're able to make the right move at the right time to swing around Jim there to grab that second spot. And you're the only driver, I believe, that was able to actually find a way to sneak a lap around Nick there on the restart. Was there any thoughts of you trying to see if you could kind of make that happen once more, but under green flag conditions if you had the opportunity?
If I'd gotten up there, absolutely. But yeah, you were only going to lead it for the last 100 meters because the bottom line is so dominant here that as long as you hold the bottom line, you've got a 99% chance of finishing the race in first. But was that some close, fast, exciting racing.
Craig, that kind of looked like the old Craig Forsyth tonight.
It feels good to get a result again. I'm starting to feel I was rather snake bit. So I'll take any top any podium result. That's for sure. Hasn't been the best start to the year for me. So it's good to see some results rolling through now.
Yeah, not just the results, but you were very racy and able to fight for position. Going back and forth between like 4th or 5th place and all the way up to 2nd. So it was fun watching you work that high line.
I mean, the draft package here is just monstrous, which makes for really good racing and really dangerous racing. So you're either going to have a really good green flag battles or you're going to have a caution fest. And I think we found the happy medium for that because and actually, a lot of guys were saying that their cars they had damaged cars and were able to repair them, which is not normal. So it was good to see that we were able to keep guys going.
Yeah, it was definitely definitely. I mean, there was times where Steve and I were commenting. I mean, it felt like you guys were a Daytona Talladega race, especially that early opening stint or so. Guys going 3 wide and for a couple lanes, and like you said, I mean, it's Talladega, Daytona kind of, but you guys are going like 220, probably 230 even. I mean, how twitchy, how nerve wracking is it to like know if you just go just a little bit too much one way or the other on the wheel, and it could wind up taking out a half a dozen or more cars.
Well, and it was unfortunate tonight. I mean, I'm sure you saw it on the broadcast. We were having lots of people were having net code issues and lag issues, and it was causing cars to jump and cars to jitter. So you could race some people close, and you'd have to take your life into your hands if you didn't know. It was the additional gamble of racing someone close that could jitter, or you could jitter at any point in time. I know I ended up with a what was for me a Phantom 4X all of a sudden, and then Matt was falling back, and he'd ended up hitting me, and with neither of us realizing what had happened. And it's
Yeah, I think that was what Steve and I same thing. We saw Matt fall back at one point, and same thing was like something must have happened that we missed. But then you're right. I mean, we saw a couple instances where there were a couple unfortunate net code or things like that. So I said that's what we were debating, was if it was something on the driver's side, if it was just maybe on the iRacing service itself, or what it would be. So I mean, that's the downside, unfortunately, of online racing is it's not all in your own control. Say sometimes you're kind of at the mercy of the connections and things like that. But and definitely hats off to you there as well. You were probably braver than I would have been after seeing what happened to Eric there. You still were able to kind of muster up the courage to run that outside line after seeing the net code between the 51 and that 72. So great job tonight, Craig, and definitely want to give you the floor for your runner up tonight.
I was just going to say, admittedly, I pulled out of. We were doing 3 wide for a while there, and I pulled out of that 3 wide just because of the jitter that was happening on the bottom line there, and then it ended up. It was a good thing I had done that, because it ended up biting Eric in the butt there. But no, I got to thank Jim over at LMC Gear. Sponsoring the league, sponsoring the car. All the guys here at Area 51. You saw the race tonight. We good, hard, fast, close racing, and we try to put that on every week. And hope the folks enjoy it, and I hope the fans and the family liked what they saw.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun to watch and be able to broadcast that one. So yeah, enjoy this one, Craig. Like I said, hopefully things are turning back the right way for you. Definitely always enjoyable to see you up front in these races.
You bet, you guys. Stay safe.
Yeah, great run.
All right, that leaves us one driver left to chat with, and that is going to be our race winner as we kind of catch a mid burnout here. So let's go back a lap, and we'll get the full burnout effect here for Nick DeGroot in that number 89. And I'm gonna go out on a limb, Nick, and say pole position was probably kind of job number 1 for you tonight. Because other than that, I think the only time anybody was able to get around you was Craig for maybe, like I said, about a couple hundred feet to get across at the line to lead a lap. And then, of course, when Matt Wagner stayed out and kind of went off sequence there towards the end of the race. But otherwise, this was pretty much the Nick DeGroot show. Was that, once you got the pole, was that pretty much your game plan? Was like, yep, this white line is going to be my friend all night long?
Hello, you got me?
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Okay. Sorry, I think I was out for a second.
No worries. Just say, were you able to hear us or no?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Now we'll get you going then. So basically the question I asked was pretty much for you. I'm guessing job 1 was getting pole position, and then once you got that taken care of, was pretty much the game plan to just kind of live on the white line and make sure you kind of had the pit strategy to try to keep that track position the rest of the way.
Yeah, that was really the whole plan. Knowing Las Vegas, it's a crazy pack race, and if you're not the leader, you might as well be anywhere between second and last, because it can change in a blink. So I went into this practicing qualifying runs multiple times because I just wanted to get that pole. I wanted to start off in the lead, and I know that there are some issues with that. For example, if we go green, leader's always going to be the first one to pick because I'm not able to really save fuel, and then if there's a yellow, you're really put out. But it's what I want to do. It was the strategy from the get-go, and I was hoping that every time I got into that fuel window, because we needed to make 3 stops, that we would get cautions, and we got those cautions. We got really lucky with the yellows, and that only time I lost the lead really was when Wagner did his alternate strategy, but he didn't get the cautions he needed, and I just kind of rode behind him and saved some fuel, which made it so I didn't really have to save anything that last run, and really worked out. It just, everything went our way tonight. I didn't have to pass a single car for position, and just kind of, like you said, held the white line the whole race.
Yeah, so kind of a big turn of fortune. I said that might be exactly it. It's kind of had pretty much all the bad luck last week. I say with everything going wrong, even some maybe glitches on the racing side with the black flags and such. So I'm sure it feels good to have the things go the correct way for you to be able to grab the win here tonight.
Oh yeah, we needed to make up for that race, and I know, at least I think we get 1 drop week this season, but I still really needed to make up for that, and we did everything we could do tonight to make up for it, leading the most laps, getting pole, winning the race, and 0xing the thing. So yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. That was just really a perfect race for us.
So I have to ask, do you feel guilty at all for like hogging the white line for that whole race?
I was too terrified to feel guilty. I saw what was happening behind me. I didn't want to go back there. Yeah, I was happy to hog it for the whole thing.
Was there any point in the race where you felt like you slipped up a teeny bit and you had to worry about anyone getting under you, or were you able to control it close to the white line the entire time?
Yeah, I felt pretty in control of that, but the one thing I was nervous about was restarts, because second place, usually it was Craig, would get a big run and he'd get a nose in front of me, and if we get a yellow at that point, he's the leader, and I think it was actually the last yellow of the race. He just about did it. He blew by Jim, and he was just about equal with me out of turn 4, and we got a caution. And if that caution comes out just a second or two later, he's the leader, and you're probably interviewing him for the race win. So yeah, it could have easily swung the other direction. Got really lucky tonight.
Yeah, and that was the one yellow we were talking about, Steve, where I was kind of torn. I was like, man, I don't know who had that at the line. It was close, and obviously when we saw the way it lined up, that it was indeed you that were able to hold the lead there. So, and that was what we were wondering, was would anybody try to make that big move on a restart, or even try to maybe lay back and get a big run out of 4 and try to just do something to try to kind of unseat you off the lead there, but. We mentioned during the broadcast, it wasn't to say it wasn't going to happen, but we're feeling pretty confident. It's like he's either going to have to make a mistake, or someone's going to have to force him into a mistake, and that's not really a Nick DeGroot thing that we see very frequently. And so, sure enough, you're able to kind of hold everything to perfection there and grab that win. So definitely hats off, like you said, to a great rebound. I think, like I said, I don't think there's any better result you can get other than just for bragging rights, maybe leading every lap. So a really, really impressive run here tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And I think the only mistake I can really bring to mind is actually on that last lap out of turn 2. I was a bit reactionary to Jim coming back down behind me, and I dropped my wheels below the white line. And if I'd done that a little bit earlier while we were still exiting the corner, that could have just completely sent my car. So that was a little moment, a little too much mirror driving on my part. But yeah, it worked out, and congrats to Craig and Jim on a podium too. They ran a great race.
Yeah, it was a really impressive run for you tonight. I said, definitely, like you said, I think you definitely made the right call of trying to keep everybody in your mirrors tight, because you are not wrong there. It was wild in the back there from pretty much second on back. So great job though tonight, Nick. Enjoy this one for sure. Definitely look forward to seeing you in the remaining races this season. And like I said, a great bounce back. Even with the 1 drop week, you always got to be ready and be careful for those. So enjoy this one, and we'll look forward to chatting with you again here soon, sir.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Congrats on the win, Nick.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Steve. So that is our racer, Nick DeGroot, getting the win here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And yeah, it was like you said, though. I mean, it was definitely the who controlled the lead, the inside line. That was going to be pretty much the way to win it. As Nick didn't put a wheel wrong here tonight, getting that big win here tonight at Las Vegas.
And it was interesting how Nick described, what goes on from second on back is basically being, crazy. And we definitely saw some of that. And yeah, I would have wanted to be where he was that whole race too.
Yeah, I won't lie. I probably would have felt a little guilty as well, but at the same time, I mean, everybody had their chance to qualify and try to kind of unseat him off pole position too. So, I mean, that was, I think everybody knew going into it that it might come down to that, and it wound up. I wouldn't say it came down to that, but I mean, that was obviously the first thing to put him in that perfect position to have a chance to win that race, and he was able to capitalize on it. So definitely hats off to him to do everything he needed to. But yeah, I'm glad to have you back in the booth with me, Steve. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to be doing these with you. And we've got plenty of racing left to go in the season. So, yeah, hopefully it was fun for you. So hopefully everybody watching enjoyed it as well. And Steve, as always, a pleasure. And so, yeah, so everybody watching, thank you so much for supporting us. We'll be back on Thursday night for the Xfinity Truck Series, and then once more on Sunday for the Xfinity Super Speedway Series to round out the week. But until then, hope you all have a wonderful evening. And, of course, as always, stay safe. And until next time, have a good night.
Glad to be back, Kyle. Good night, everyone, and Happy New Year.